That was a weird Big Ten media day. I didn't realize that we was doing the show. I didn't know something viral was going on behind us, where like this guy's like welcoming himself to the Big Ten, and he's like,
Yeah, we're in LA.
We're in LA. Let's go out to the Toyota of Hollywood guest line. Shop hundreds of Toyotas indoors in one of America's largest showrooms at Toyota of Hollywood on 441 between Hollywood and Sheridan. A man who was in the Big Ten himself, a monster in the Big Ten, Bo Nickal. He is going to be fighting at UFC 309 this weekend. Bo, thanks for joining us again, man. How are you?
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate y'all having me on. I heard some Big Ten discussion. What's up?
Wait, are y'all gonna ever get over the hump? It just seems like every year they're right there, and then they have those 1 or 2 games where they just. This year was Ohio State. Just can't. It's close.
I know. I stopped getting my hopes up. It's a tough kind of situation to be in as a fan. Of course, I want the team to win, and I believe in them, but I feel like they got to get some type of momentum and start believing in themselves in these big games, because I think the person that wins the big game, it's not the person that maybe has even the best players or the highest level of skill. You just got to go get it. You just got to really want it more than that.
Especially
other
in
team.
College.
Yeah, you just got to make it happen, and we haven't done that so far. So it's been disappointing, but luckily with the expanded playoffs, we'll maybe get another shot. You never know what could happen once you get into that position, and so we'll see. But I feel like this team is talented. They're good, but they just got to get a little more belief in themselves.
We've become kind of like adjacent Penn State fans because of Chop Robinson this year on the Dolphins. He finally got his first official sack celebration last week, so we're fired up for Penn State. We're rooting for that pipeline.
Let's go. Yeah, I appreciate that. We got a lot of fans, but we could always use more.
So this fight coming up here, Bo, I mean, this is obviously everybody loves watching your fights because they want to see how fast you can smash somebody. Like that's kind of become the thing, but you're taking on like a real veteran here, Paul Craig. Like, are you anticipating this to be a longer night at the office? Do you want to still go out and be a buzzsaw like you've always been? Like, what in this matchup are you expecting with the guy with the experience that Paul has?
When I look back at my wrestling career, my best performances, I didn't go in with this super detailed, strict game plan. I had more of a general idea of what I want to do, and I'm still game planning, but it's a little more open and leaves room for creativity. And so I'm kind of going in the same way for this fight where, I think that if you kind of lock yourself down into the fight has to go this way or it has to go that way, then what if it doesn't? And then you have a hard time pivoting. So for me, this camp has been a big focus on just getting better overall, improving all of my skills. He's definitely got a lot of experience and he's got some positions he's really good at. So I worked on those positions specifically, but I feel like going into this fight, I'm just very open-minded and just leaving room to be creative and figure it out as we go.
Are those the best fights to go into where you have a level of uncertainty fighting another guy, or when you have an excellent idea of what he's going to do, and sometimes it takes you a while to adjust if he does something different?
Yeah, I think that for me, I enjoy the unknown a little bit. Like my last few fights, it's almost as if you can't get as hyped because it's like, this isn't that big of a challenge and I'm not as excited. I'm not, for me, the bigger the challenge and the more high pressure, the better I'm going to do just because I love it and I enjoy it. And that's what I live for. So with this, it's definitely something that I think that this is a bigger challenge and I'm going to go put on an amazing performance. I don't have any doubt about that. I think that the game plan is pretty solid, but I want to leave room to improvise as well. I don't like when people get themselves into a situation where something goes wrong in the fight and there's panic because they're like, oh crap, what do I do now? I didn't expect this. So I'm not really I don't have that specific of expectations.
Is there any part of you that feels like, do you remember like the last time we talked to you, you were very measured on like, you don't want to rush things because everybody has big expectations. I'm sure you have big expectations of yourself, but do you feel like as the more rounds and training you get under your belt, like, do you feel like the itch to like vault to the top, because everybody knows what your talent is, do you feel like that's going to get higher on yourself to be like, all right, now I want to be taking on a title contender, I want to be right there in the mix as soon as possible? Like, do you have to fight that at all, or do you feel like it's getting to an appropriate time where you want to be at that spot?
Yeah, 100%. That's definitely, in my mind and part of my thought process. It seemed like, I had these big goals for so long, and they were so far away. I almost like couldn't see them, even though they were on my mind. And now I feel like as I'm improving so much and getting these bigger fights, fighting tougher opponents, now it's like I can see them. They're right there. They're really a couple fights away. And that actually gets me more motivated. I felt this camp was the most motivation I've had to compete in a really long time. And I think it's because I am inching closer to those goals and I'm getting within striking distance of them.
You have gone pretty fast, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you have gone. Toby was just telling me the story. Like it was 3 fights you were in. Like, so you have gone a lot faster than most.
Do you ever do you miss, I'm sure you being down here in South Florida, I'm sure you went to plenty of regional cards, but do you like, does there part of you that's like, man, I really never fought in like a scummy fairgrounds or something like that?
Yeah. It's funny. I look at, so my first amateur fight was actually super crazy. It was in Pensacola, and I did there was a lot of people there because it was the main event was a YouTuber boxing thing, and so they had a lot of fans and stuff. But dude, it was crazy back there. People were drinking and smoking. Some dude knocked a girl out, and the cops came in and arrested him. And yeah, we were in a boxing ring, not even a MMA ring. It was crazy. So I got a little bit of it, just a little taste, and then I moved on pretty quick.
I remember Leroy and I, one of our first trips to Vegas, our buddy wanted us to go to the Hooters casino, and we walk out by the pool and there's a weigh-in happening at the Hooters casino. And we're like, this can't be very high. This cannot be very high level here.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. No, I actually love that though. So some of my buddies, obviously, they're getting their first fights, first amateur fights, first pro fights. And so I'm pulling up to some of these places, and we have stories for days about just the things we see. It's such an interesting, it's the Wild West for real.
Oh, it is, because my favorite is, the fighters are required to bring a certain amount of guests. So they got to sell a certain amount of tickets.
Yeah.
And the fights are always in the crowds with all the tickets they sold and not necessarily in the ring.
Yeah.
Oh, it's wild.
It gets real tribal real quick.
Yeah.
We saw you mix it up a little bit with John Jones at the media day. Are you? I wonder, from your perspective, seeing him back in the ring, admiration for a guy like that to come back, and I guess what was that like? Just feeling it out a little bit next to John Bones Jones.
Oh yeah, 100%. Every time me and John see each other, it's on site. We got to get some grappling in. Got to test the waters out. UFC 285 was my first fight in the UFC, and he was main event, and we did the same thing. But yeah, I think he got me the first time. I might have got him this time, so we're 1-1. We'll need to do a trilogy. But yeah, John's the man. I feel like just being around him, you get this crazy. He's got this crazy energy and aura. He has beat everybody in the world. Just such a legend of the sport, and so I'm very grateful, very appreciative to have not only shared one card with him, but two, and this one potentially being the last fight of his career. I think he's got a couple more left in the tank, but you never know. So we'll see.
Right.
And yeah, I'm just really grateful for it, excited, and I study him so much with his previous fights in his film. So just being around him is a cool experience.
Now, you, Bo, you obviously, another big fight coming up this weekend is Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. You host a podcast for Jake's network. How much are you? There's no way. Do you have any interest in this? Are you a little scared to watch what's going to happen? What do you feel are we going to see on Friday before your fight coming up on Saturday?
I'm definitely excited for it. I'm going to be watching. I feel like that's such a crazy thing, right? Who in the world thought that would happen? I don't know. I never predicted it. I don't think many people did, and it's really going down. So yeah, I'm excited to see what happens. I'm a massive boxing fan, so I love watching boxing. I love watching old Tyson videos and stuff like that. And I've been, kept up with Jake's career. So I feel like it's one of the greatest boxers of all time, versus, a guy that started off on the Disney Channel but is now a real legitimate pro boxer. And the only thing that really separates him is age, so it's like
that's a big thing though.
It's massive. Yeah, that's what I feel like. I mean, obviously if we're talking about a 28-year-old Mike Tyson, we're talking a different story, but we're talking about I don't know, was he 58? That's like
58, yes.
He's 58, so that makes me a little nervous, to be honest. There's not very many people 58 years old competing against young guys in their prime, so we'll see how it goes.
What's the oldest person you would be comfortable competing against? Like, is there a limit? You're like, I won't fight a 50-year-old. Like, if Bo Nickal had to get into the cage, they're like, well, Bo, he's Randy Couture is coming out of retirement. We'd really love to see what you could do.
I mean, they write the check. It's all good. I'll take him out, no problem.
Bo, appreciate it, man. Good luck this weekend,
Thanks,
and we'll be watching, man. It's always a pleasure watching you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.